Good evening, everyone. Um, Welcome to tonight's neighborhood meeting. My name is Celeste Kitsemetry, and I am the planner for this. I'm a planner in the city's Development Services Department. The focus of tonight's meeting will be on the potential development application for a zoning bylaw amendment at 21 and 23 Collier Street in Barrie. Please be aware we are recording this meeting for the public record. All information provided is being collected and will be used for the purpose of garnering your input, to respond to inquiries, and to be notified of future meetings, and will be considered public information. Should you have any questions regarding this collection, please contact the Development Services Department. I would like to let everyone know that there are staff behind the scenes managing the technology tonight. They have the ability to interrupt the meeting at any time and will endeavor to allow the applicant and each member of the public the opportunity to speak. Please bear with us if we have any issues. I'd like to confirm the number of attendees tonight. Tiffany, could you confirm the number of people we have available?
We currently have 10 on the line, and I think we have 20 that were registered.
Okay, thank you very much. And I would also like to acknowledge that we have Councillor Keenan Aowen, who is the Councillor for Ward 2, on the line to hear what the neighborhood has to say about this proposed application. Tonight's meeting is not a statutory meeting under the Planning Act. The development proposal is still in the pre-submission stages, meaning that there is no application submitted. The intent of tonight's meeting is more to provide members of the public with an opportunity to become familiar with the development proposal and the planning review process, and also ask the applicant questions and to provide feedback. Tonight's meeting is intended to be a presentation from the applicant's representative describing the proposal, a brief overview of the city's review process and timing, and provides an opportunity to ask questions of either the applicant or city staff and provide comments or identify concerns with the proposed development. This meeting is not intended for city staff to provide recommendations on the application or a detailed analysis on the proposal, as this will occur later in the review process when an application is submitted. There will be no debate on the merits of this proposal between city staff and the applicant. Once we move on to the question and answer period, if you wish to ask a question or provide comment, you will be required to use the meeting controls to raise your virtual hand. You can find the raise your hand button and other meeting controls at the bottom of your screen. For those who are joining us by phone, you may press 9 to raise your virtual hand, and when you are called on to speak, you can press 6 to unmute yourself. You'll be asked by name to speak. Then you will need to unmute yourself, and then please clearly state your name and address and provide your comment or question. As we work through the questions and comments later in the meeting, I respectfully request that members of the public please avoid repeating the same questions and comments over again. Once a specific matter has been identified, it will be documented, and the applicant will either provide a response verbally this evening or provide a response later through the formal application process during the future public meeting or in written format through their formal submission. This approach will allow us to have a more productive meeting and conclude the meeting as scheduled at 6:30 p.m. Following the meeting, members of the public can also send additional comments to either myself, Celeste Kitsemetry at barrie.ca, or contact Planner of the Day at barrie.ca. Those that have registered for the meeting by providing a mailing or email address will be added to the mailing list to receive future information about the development proposal. After tonight's meeting, apologies. Before we get into the presentation, I just wanted to quickly highlight the next steps in the application process and what you can expect after tonight's meeting. We are currently in the initial stages of the planning process. The proposal has gone through a pre-consultation technical review with a variety of city departments and external agencies, with the expectation that an application may be forthcoming. After tonight's meeting, the applicant will need to incorporate comments received at this neighborhood meeting and make a presentation through the public meeting process before the city's planning committee when an application is submitted. The formal application submission will be reviewed with comments received from the city's technical departments and external agencies, as well as consideration of the public's input. This neighborhood meeting is established early in the development process to ensure local concerns are incorporated or addressed through the city's review. Following tonight's meeting and review of the formal application, a future public meeting will be scheduled with the city's planning committee. The public meeting is a statutory requirement under the Planning Act. Everyone who registered for tonight's meeting, as well as all property owners within 120 meters of the subject lands, will be notified of the public meeting. The public meeting will also be held virtually, similar to tonight's meeting, pending any change to COVID protocols. At the public meeting, the applicant's representative will present the application to council and again answer questions. At the public meeting, the applicant will be required to identify that a neighborhood meeting has been held and provide an overview of the responses to the issues and concerns identified at this meeting. Members of the public will again have an opportunity to provide either verbal or written comments at the public meeting. Following the public meeting, staff will continue the technical review process associated with the application, and the applicant may make any necessary revisions to the development proposal. Once the review process has concluded, a staff recommendation report will be brought forward to council for their consideration. All comments received throughout the review process, including those received at the neighborhood and public meetings, will be identified and addressed in the staff report and will form part of the staff's recommendation on the application. So that is it for the planning application process and what you can expect before and after tonight's meeting. I will now move on to the applicant's presentation. And as I mentioned, the development proposal will be presented first, followed by a question and comment or answer period. We have Cameron Sellers from Innovative Planning Solutions with us this evening, and he will be presenting the development proposal on behalf of the property owner. The proposed zoning bylaw amendment seeks to add site-specific provisions to the existing central area commercial zone to permit additional height and gross floor area with reduced parking, landscape buffer, and drive aisle width requirements. The intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw amendment is to permit the future development of a 27-story residential tower with commercial at grade and 3 levels of structured parking in the podium. And there is an estimated 214 apartment units intended for rental tenure in the tower. So on that note, I will hand the meeting controls over to Cameron to share his presentation. Thank you.
That's great. Thanks very much, Celeste. I will share my screen. Can you confirm that you can see that?
Yep, you're good.
Thank you. Okay, good evening, everyone, and thank you for attending tonight's neighborhood meeting. My name is Cameron Sellers, and I'm a planner with Innovative Planning Solutions here tonight on behalf of the ownership group Solid GC. Also here with me tonight is Magnus Clark from Paradigm Architecture and Design. I will just note that the information that we're going to present tonight has not been formally submitted to the city for any other reason than pre-consultation. The project details that we'll share with you tonight are very preliminary in nature and are subject to change. The purpose of this meeting is to provide you with the project details, obtain feedback, and then integrate that feedback with comments received both from city staff and from our own project team in order to drive this project forward. So following this meeting, we will be proceeding with the required technical analysis and studies to move forward to formal planning applications. This slide provides a brief overview of the consulting team engaged to move forward on various aspects of the proposed development. The developer, Solid GC, is a national construction company operating across Canada, and one which we have worked with on many projects over the past decade within the Barrie area. Innovative Planning Solutions are the planners on this project. The architectural component of this team is represented by Paradigm Architecture and Design, who've been involved in other similarly scaled projects in the Barrie area. Grounded engineering have been engaged to complete the geotechnical and hydrogeological studies, in addition to the record of site condition. Traffic and parking analysis will be completed by IBI, while civil engineering will be completed by WMI Engineering. Finally, gradient wind will analyze factors associated with wind. So each of these consultants will provide critical components and input to the project as it moves forward. I've highlighted the subject property here in red, positioned on the south side of Collier Street, east of Clapperton Street, and west of Owen Street, with 2 adjacent public laneways to the south and west. The site itself possesses 29.4 meters of frontage on Collier Street with an area of approximately 1,377 square meters. The lands are rectangular in shape and they slope from in a north to south direction. So when analyzing the subject site and envisioning what type of development should be pursued, we evaluated the strategic position of the lands and the surrounding framework. So this slide displays an aerial view showing the subject property in red, along with surrounding characteristics found within 250 and 500 meter radii. Of importance is the site's position central to the downtown core, its location on a major roadway, just steps from City Hall, its proximity to the downtown transit hub, along with proximity to various parks and open spaces, including Meridian Place, Heritage Park, the waterfront, and to all the amenities that the city's downtown has to offer. So in order to provide greater context, this aerial view shows Barrie looking southward with the subject lands highlighted in red. This view includes existing, approved, and proposed buildings within the city's urban growth center. So the subject site is positioned along public transit route number 8 on Collier Street. It's nearby to extensive pedestrian and active transportation networks. It's minutes walk from the city's downtown transit station, and it's nearby to each of the Bayfield and Dunlop Street intensification corridors. The site photos shown here display the one deteriorated structure presently found on the property, along with the vacant adjacent space between the building and the Collier Street Parkade. The lands are significantly underutilized and are ready for redevelopment in order to provide revitalization and much needed rental housing stock to the downtown. This slide illustrates the current official plan designation of the subject lands, along with highlighting their position within the city. The lands are designated city center and are positioned central to the city's downtown core and urban growth center, where growth is targeted. City center lands are intended to provide a broad range of uses, including commercial integrated with residential, as is being pursued through this project. The city center is to accommodate a large portion of the city's growth within medium and high densities in order to increase the resident population, provide live work opportunities, and to ensure the downtown is used after business hours. It should be noted that no amendment to the official plan is required in order to accommodate the proposed project. This slide illustrates the current zoning of the subject lands. The lands are zoned central area commercial, or C1-2 within the city's zoning bylaw, and are entirely surrounded by central area commercially zoned lands in each direction. So this brings us to the details of the proposal. The proposed development includes a 27-story mixed-use building, inclusive of a 4-story podium. Parking is proposed to be provided within 3 levels, including 2 levels of underground. The 4-story podium has been designed to mimic the height and massing of the adjacent city parkade structure as shown here, while creating an engaging architectural streetscape. The residential tower above includes stepping characteristics away from Collier Street and the adjacent laneways. In order to provide an active and engaging street presence, one consolidated commercial entity is proposed to be located on the ground floor of the building facing Collier Street. This commercial space will encompass approximately 1,100 square meters. A total of 214 residential units are proposed within 1, 2, and 3 bedroom configurations. And to note, super important to note that given the current housing prices, it's crucial to highlight the fact that this development will be entirely purpose-built rental, with some of the residential or some of the rental units being designated affordable housing units. So the site plan shown here provides a schematic layout of the site. The adjacent laneways to the west and south are currently not 6 meters wide and do not allow for two-way vehicular flow. So the proposed development will provide the additional width on both sides to allow for a two-way 6 meter wide laneway. The 4-story podium envelops most of the subject lands, consistent with the massing of the adjacent Collier Street parkade, while the tower above is stepped back from the podium. A pedestrian entrance to the tower is positioned along the Collier Street frontage, providing access to the lobby, mailroom, elevators, staircases, etc., with the balance of the Collier Street frontage being one large commercial unit framing the streetscape. 2 levels of underground parking are proposed to be accessed from the south laneway, with the second podium level also dedicated to parking. The upper podium will also possess indoor amenity areas, meeting rooms, a fitness center, guest suites, a lounge, and an outdoor terrace. The balance of the tower above will be comprised entirely of residential rental units. So in order to accommodate the proposed development, a rezoning is necessary from the central area commercial C1 zone to the central area commercial C1 zone with special provisions. No amendments to the official plan are required, and it's anticipated that the special zoning provisions will be required for height, gross floor area, parking, landscape buffer, and drive aisle width. So this slide provides several architectural renderings highlighting the at-grade commercial retail space positioned along the Collier Street frontage. This ground floor commercial use promises to provide an active and engaging street interaction. The podium architecturally has been designed to mesh with and complement existing surrounding uses and built forms along the Collier Street corridor. Extensive glazing will be utilized along the Collier Street frontage and throughout the tower above. Step backs can be seen here at the 5th floor, while balconies are also provided throughout the tower in order to add private outdoor amenity space and a variation in the built form. Here are a further few illustrations of the architectural design and integration from various angles. Step backs and architectural features have been provided throughout the building in order to provide good urban design and interesting visual appeal. So in order to illustrate the scale and massing of the proposed project in relation to other existing and planned buildings within Barrie, we've included the proposed building within this 3D model previously shown. So as displayed here, the proposed building promises to seamlessly integrate with the surrounding built form while adding character to Barrie's current and future skyline. The model found here shows the proposed building from a different angle along with the surrounding context. This is the building right here. As you can see, there are numerous existing and planned high-density buildings surrounding the city's waterfront, with the proposed building promising to appropriately complement the skyline. So in relation to required studies, a host of technical analysis is required in order to support the proposed development. Each of these studies shown will be undertaken as the process moves forward to formal zoning bylaw amendment and future site plan applications. So in conclusion, this development provides a mixture of uses within a 27-story building. 214 much needed purpose-built rental units will be provided, inclusive of some designated affordable housing units. The lands are ideally positioned within the city's urban growth center and the downtown core, with the project promising to support Barrie's growth mandates while enhancing the city skyline. So on behalf of Solid GC, we would like to thank you for listening to this presentation and attending tonight. It is our belief that this project will invigorate this stretch of Collier Street and the surrounding area, inclusive of significant positive impacts. And at this point, we would welcome any comments or feedback you may have on this project.